What's going on, everybody? It's your man, Louie T, here with a brand new installment of the Louie T Network podcast. It is Wednesday, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and we are going to have a big pod today. This one's probably going to run a little longer than normal, probably around like 2 hours long. Got a lot to discuss, and it's going to be the only pod of the week, so we got a lot to um, encapsulate, right? We have to talk about the week that was, so we'll go slate skating. We got to talk about my power index. We've got to preview all of the Thursday games, all of the games this weekend, rather, in terms of Thursday. And we have a Friday game, a Black Friday game. So 4 games we'll preview a little bit later on in the show. And then some non sequiturs, a couple of things that I want to knock down and everything else under the sun. So with that said, let's dive in. You're locked into the Louie T Network podcast that starts now. The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description. Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the 466th installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. How is everyone doing? I hope this week is treating you well. I hope you are preparing for a great Thanksgiving feast, if that is your scene. I always encourage this time of the year to just enjoy the 5 F's, right? Family, friends, food, football, and faith, in whatever order you so choose, right? And if football's not your scene, enjoy the other 4, right? If you're not a big faith person, enjoy the other 3, right? Or the other 4. Whatever the case may be, enjoy those you love, right? Don't take these situations, these moments, these seasons, these years, these opportunities to love on those that you love for granted. You don't know how many more of these you're going to get, and you just need to cherish it, right? So, I'm thankful for every single one of you out there on this Thanksgiving Eve. I'm thankful for every single one of you who make the Louie T Network what it is, what it's become, what it's going to continue to be in the future. I'm thankful for you guys. And I'll take another step forward and say this. I love Thanksgiving. It's my favorite holiday of all of the major holidays that we celebrate here in the United States of America. But there are some aspects of it that are frankly overrated. And I'll tell you this. I want to ask this question to you guys. What is the most overrated Thanksgiving dish that is universally, regarded as something that everyone eats this time of the year? I'll tell you what it is for me. And look, take it with a grain of salt. I'm a vegan, so you're gonna try to, whatever, Louie T. I wasn't a vegan my entire life. Okay. So take it for what it's worth. The most overrated food for me is turkey. Turkey isn't all that great to me. Now, look, there are different ways to prepare turkey, and some are more succulent and flavorful and all of that good stuff. I've had a lot of dry turkey in my life, and maybe if I had juicy turkey that wasn't dry, I'd have a much better feeling and sentiment towards turkey. But I've had a lot more dry turkey in my life than I have juicy, succulent, flavorful turkey. And I'm not I'm going to make me a turkey sandwich with the turkey we have left over from Thanksgiving. I'm not that guy, right? So there's not many uses for turkey. I have to put stuff on it to make it taste good. I think it's overrated, personally. I'm more of a sides guy on Thanksgiving. I'm more of a pastry guy on Thanksgiving. You can miss me with the turkey. To be honestly, I'm all right. I'm gonna keep it a bean with you. Honestly speaking, The vegan meat, pause, that I eat is better than the turkey that I used to consume before I became vegan. That should tell you a lot because there aren't many things that I've eaten since becoming vegan that I can say taste better than the actual version. And not that it's usually that far off, but usually the original tastes better than the vegan version. That said, I don't miss turkey. Not one bit. Not one iota. If I were to make a plate of Thanksgiving food, even back in the day, you could catch me with a plate full of food without turkey even on it. So, um, not really a big turkey guy, but I digress. I'll check a couple of your comments in the comment section and see what you guys are saying, but um, not a big turkey guy. I want to give a big shout out to every single person um who recommended the show Cross on Amazon Prime. Oh my stars. My guy Derek B hit me up and he was like, yo, me and my wife pretty much binge watched the entire season 1. It's that good. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna check it. I'm gonna check it out. Because I had seen previews. We've all watched Thursday Night Football. They're pushing Cross on Thursday night, and usually whatever other shows they have on Amazon Prime, they're pushing that. It's the #1 show on Amazon right now. And I was like, it looks like something that we would like, but I just was like, we'll get around to it. And then I had somebody else say, bro, you gotta check out Cross. And then I had somebody else say, yo, Cross is legit. And I was like, all right, it's too many. And then my wife was like, yo, I'm hearing the same thing. I'm like, all right, we got to check this joint out. So we sat down and we watched the first episode and we both looked at each other like, uh-oh. We know that look, right? When we both look at each other simultaneously, and that's are we really about to do this? Because you got to look at your watch and you got to determine, because each episode is roughly an hour, call it 50 minutes or so. But you got to do the math and you got to look and say, look, man, are you really trying to get into 4 or 5 of these right now? Because that's 4 or 5 hours we talking about. It's already 11:48. Like, are you really trying to do this? And we hunkered down and we knocked out about 4 episodes. And we got to that 4th episode and I looked over at her and I was like, I don't think you got another one in you, but she was going to try to fight. And I was like, nah, let's just press pause on this one. But it's good. We went and we watched another episode last night. So we are 5 episodes through. There are 8 total. So we've got 3 episodes left. It is good. If you haven't watched, I'm not going to spoil it for you. You should check it out. It is really, really good. If you're looking for something to watch over this holiday weekend, I recommend Cross on Amazon Prime. I've got a lot of TV programming that I need to get to over this weekend. Some of the things that I've wanted to get to, I'm going to get to them over this weekend, but that's one that I would recommend for you if you haven't already checked it out. Really good stuff. So anyway, I digress. Lots to get to on this show. Daniel Jones is now a Minnesota Viking, but he's on the practice squad. Interesting stuff there. So he could still theoretically end up on a different team. Now, again, he is it's up to him, what he wants to do, but he can be poached by another team because the Vikings aren't signing him to their active roster. They're putting him on the practice squad. And they're not releasing any of their current quarterbacks to add him to the practice squad. So that's why they're not putting him on the active roster, because they're not getting rid of any of their current quarterbacks to add him. They're going to put him on the practice squad. So theoretically speaking, a team like the Raiders could come along and say, all right, Gardner Minshew just fractured his collarbone. We need a QB. Come on, Daniel Jones. We're signing you up, right? That's the risk you take here. But we'll see what happens with Daniel Jones. That's just an odd situation. But the Giants right now are a mess. They look like the #1 overall pick team this year. Like, we'll talk about it when we get to slate skating and their 30-7 loss to the Buccaneers, where they just looked out of sorts. So anyway, I digress. Let's get to and big shout out. I see Derek B is in the comment section. Big shout out to my guy Derek B, man, for the recommendation and for being a sounding board at times, and also for just chopping it up. We go back and forth all the time. We debate like we're brothers, right? We go back and forth all the time. So that's my guy. Big shout out to Derek B, and thank you for the recommendation of Cross. It's been phenomenal, right down our alley. But I digress. Let's go ahead and kick this show off with my power index for week number 13. So that's going to take us straight into the Gem Droppin Session. Let me drop this gem on your melon. Open your mind. Let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with your man, Louie T double E. Let me open you up. Get you thinking a little bit. Yeah, Black LB, you put me on the cross as well, for sure. There were about 4 or 5 of you who said, "Hey, bro, you gotta watch Cross." You and Derek B were adamant. You super chatted. Derek B hit me in my DMs, and so big shout out to everyone. Derek B, Big Black LB, all the other host of people that hit me up like, "Yo, I know you and your wife. Like, if you told me you like these other shows, you're really gonna like this show." And you guys were spot on. So let's get to my week 13 power index. Before we do that, got to go back to week 12 real quick and recap where we were a week ago. Real quick, coming in at number 7 last week in the power index were the Minnesota Vikings. They were 8-2, and they were going to Chicago to take on the Bears. That was a thrilling contest. And so we'll talk about the outcome of that game here in a bit, but they came in at number 7 last week. Ravens checked in at number 6 after a tough loss on the road at Pittsburgh, 18-16. They were looking to bounce back on Monday Night Football versus the Chargers, and they were able to do so. Philadelphia Eagles checked in at number 5 last week. They were going to be on the road at the LA Rams on Sunday Night Football. Took care of business there. We'll talk about where they are in the power index in week 13, but they were 5 last week in week 12. Pittsburgh Steelers were number 4 last week. They were going to have a quick turnaround after the emotional win versus Baltimore to take on the Cleveland Browns on the road on Thursday Night Football. That didn't go well, and so we'll talk about what that has done to their standing within the power index. Coming in at number 3, the Kansas City Chiefs checked in at 3 after their first loss of the season, falling to the Buffalo Bills in week 12. They looked to get back on their winning track against the Carolina Panthers on the road. Was not as easy as one would have thought. Talk about that. Buffalo Bills were on a bye week at 9-2 after the big momentous win over Kansas City. They moved all the way up to number 2 on the power index last week. And then checking in at number 1, the 10-1 Detroit Lions, playing excellent football. They were looking to make it 2 straight 10-win seasons in week 13. They were going to be taking on the Indianapolis Colts on the road. They took care of business. And so that takes us to our current status and where we are now, week 13 power index. Let's talk about it. Checking in at number 7. This was a tough decision to make because I had to gauge between 2, 8, and 3 teams to make a decision. And I thought long and hard about it, and I said, which one of these teams instills the most confidence in me right now? And it went back and forth. But I ultimately went with the Pittsburgh Steelers. It could have easily been the Green Bay Packers, but I still don't trust Jordan Love. I trust the Steelers' defense more than I trust Jordan Love and his pinching to turn the football over right now. And so because of that, I went with the Steelers, but this could easily be Green Bay, and it may be Green Bay next week, right? Steelers took care of business, or excuse me, Steelers lost, which is why they've fallen all the way from 4 to 7 on this power index. this is still a good team. They're well coached, and they went into the Cleveland on Thursday, you know, poor conditions, but they were struggling before the snow really started to come down heavy and cover the field. They failed on fourth down multiple times early in the game, kind of left the door ajar. It really gave the Browns opportunities. They battled back, took the lead, and still weren't able to hold on. But this is still a good team. I don't think they're the best team in their division. I think that distinction goes to the Ravens, and thus I don't see them winning the division, but I do see them as a playoff team, and I think they're going to get back on track this week. I think they have Cincinnati, if I'm not mistaken. That's going to be a tough one. Obviously, Cincinnati fighting for their playoff lives, can't really afford to lose very many more games. They're going to have it, but Cincinnati's been in a have to have it mode all season, and they just haven't gotten it. So I don't know if that's going to change in week 13. I like the Steelers in that game, and I like the Steelers as my number 7 team in the power index. Checking in at number 6 are the Minnesota Vikings. And I feel like I think I've said this multiple times, and I myself am very guilty of this. They're the Rodney Dangerfield of the NFL this year. They can't get no respect. I think it really stems from Sam Darnold. Like, people just don't want to believe. I'm guilty of this, and I can't speak for anybody else. I'll speak for myself. I don't want to believe that Sam Darnold is capable of leading an NFL team to where they ultimately want to go. It's kind of how I feel about Jared Goff, and I had to really rewire my brain. Like, hey, Jared Goff is in the best position he's ever been in with an organization that truly believes in him. And you'd be surprised how far belief goes, right? How far someone telling you they believe in you and showing you that they believe in you will take you. And I think Sam Darnold is finally in a position where he feels loved, where he feels respected and wanted. And look, JJ McCarthy was drafted in the first round to be the Viking starter of the future, but they were going to start Sam Darnold week 1 because they believe Sam Darnold gave them the best chance to win. Now, I wonder what would have happened had McCarthy stayed healthy, because that first preseason game was pretty tantalizing. Would have been interesting to see if he continued to show that in the preseason where they've just said, you know what? I know what we said initially, but yeah, let's just go with the young fella, right? But had they not done that and the Vikings got off to the start that they ultimately got off to, I mean, you're not benching Sam Darnold after the start they got off to. They were 5-0. Right, whether they were the second to last team to suffer their final first defeat of the season, right? So whatever the case may be, Darnold showed his worth again on Sunday, a game that had no business making it to overtime, but somehow did make it to overtime. And he showed why this team is 9-2, a game out of first place in the toughest division in football this season, the NFC North, and why this isn't a fluke. It's not. And he's making a believer out of me slowly but surely. And now there's 6 on the power index are the 9-2 Minnesota Vikings. Checking in at, and again, that defense is good, but that defense gave up, 24 points? 27, I believe. 27 points, if I'm not mistaken. So they can be had defensively at times. The offense had to bail them out in this game. And got to give credit where credit is due. Sam Darnold continues to play really well. Checking in at number 5, the Baltimore Ravens. They did what I expected them to do because they're a good football team. They bounced back from a tough loss. Good teams don't lose a lot of games in a row. Most of the time, good teams don't lose 2 in a row. Rarely do really good teams drop, 2 or 3 in a row. You look at Lamar Jackson's record after a loss. He's 18-4 in his career after suffering a defeat. That's the mark of an elite quarterback. We're not doing this thing where we go on a slide and we keep finding ways to lose games. Let's snap out of it right now. And that's what they did on Monday night, where they just looked like the better team. They got off to a slow start against the Chargers on the road, but once they got into a rhythm, it was hard for the Chargers to stop that Baltimore Ravens train. Derrick Henry was really the engine that powered that locomotive on Monday, rushing for almost 200 yards, if I'm not mistaken. Um, he was fantastic. He might have went over 200 yards. I think he was just shy of 200 yards, like 190 something. He was phenomenal in the game. Lamar was good when he needed to be, and the Ravens bounced back. They're now a half game behind the Pittsburgh Steelers in that division after Pittsburgh gave them a gift with the loss on Thursday Night Football. So the Ravens stay connected to the Steelers. They're now fifth on the power index after being sixth a week ago. Philadelphia Eagles have also moved up in the power index. They were 5 a week ago. They're now fourth in the power index after their thrashing of the Los Angeles Rams on Sunday Night Football. Saquon Barkley, 302 all-purpose yards. He was a behemoth, a man amongst boys in that game on Sunday. The Eagles defense continues to play top-notch football. They get it done on that side. Barkley and the offense gets it done on that side. And they continue to roll. Now 7 straight victories for this Eagles football team. Now 9-2, total command of the NFC East, breathing down the necks of the Detroit Lions for the #1 seed in the conference. Eagles playing confident ball. We're going to have a matchup of the 4 and 5 on this index this weekend. Should be a fantastic ball game. Ravens at home taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Lamar Jackson, I believe, is 22-1 versus the NFC in his career. That's going to be put to the test this week. Should be an excellent ball game. Eagles, #4 on the power index. The top 3 spots remain exactly the same. Chiefs come in at #3. Bills on a bye stay at #2, and the Detroit Lions take care of business, remain #1 on the power index. Quickly, we'll go through those 3 teams. Chiefs go on the road, beat the Carolina Panthers 27, I believe, to 19, if I'm not mistaken. A lot closer of a ball game. Let me get that score right. I think it was an 8-point game, 1 possession, if my memory serves me correct. But let me get the exact score, so there is no confusion. That game was 30-27. Excuse me, 30-27. That's right. The Panthers had actually tied that game up at 27, and the Chiefs had to go down the field and kick a field goal as time expired to win that game, 30-27. This is not the same Chiefs team that we've seen be dominant in years past. Uh, in the last 3 or 4 weeks, the offense had struggled. The defense was the catalyst. There have been games where the defense wasn't great, like the Buccaneers game a few weeks back. The defense wasn't great against Buffalo last week. And the defense wasn't good in this game. And the offense had to bail it out this week. So they've taken turns kind of bailing one another out. They find ways to win, but by no means does this Chiefs team feel like a lock. And I think it's starting to get to them, right? You get to a place where you've won 2 straight Super Bowls. You're trying to do something unprecedented, has never been done in NFL history, which is win 3 consecutive Super Bowls. And it wears on you. You start to lose players. Now, help is on the way. They're going to get Isaiah Pacheco back on Friday against the Raiders. And I think there's another player coming off of IR that will help. And they're going to be okay. You don't worry about the Chiefs, even when it doesn't look completely together. You don't worry about them because you know when it comes January into February, they're going to figure it out and they're going to find a way. So this doesn't look the cleanest right now, doesn't look the most efficient nor aesthetic. But guess what? They're still winning. They're still a 10-1 team, are the Kansas City Chiefs, or I think they're 9-1 actually. Yeah, they're 10-1. They're still a 10-1 team, and they're still in position to be the #1 seed in the AFC as long as they continue to win. So let's see. Um, the Bills were on a bye week, well deserved, 9-2. Um, that's a team right now that is playing really confident football, and they're starting to put the pieces of the puzzle together. We weren't sure about Buffalo coming into the season. They moved on from several veterans, scattered across their roster, the two safeties, Mitch Morse, their center. There were a lot of question marks. Stephon Diggs was moved on from. Gabe Davis left in free agency. And so we didn't really know what to expect from Buffalo. They've exceeded my expectations. There were probably people out there that thought they'll be fine. They got Josh Allen. And that's a good attitude to have. When you got one of them ones at quarterback, you'll figure it out, right? Those teams usually do. So he's been spectacular. He's right in the dead heat of the MVP conversation is Josh Allen. And this Bills team defensively, that's been the biggest surprise. They've been really good defensively this season, have the Bills. And so they've created turnovers. They've scored off those turnovers. And they're 9-2. And they're right there with the Chiefs fighting for that number 1 overall seed in the conference. And then you got the Detroit Lions at number 1. They went on the road. Indy is a very dangerous place to go play a football game. You just don't know what Indianapolis Colts team is going to show up. You go in there, it's kind of sleepy. If you're not careful, you can get lulled to sleep like Pittsburgh did earlier this season and get got. They got off to a slow start in that game, but once they revved the engine up, they were able to take care of the Colts. The thing that they did from start to finish of that game was play defense. And, while the offense had its lulls in that game, the defense showed up and showed out from beginning to end. And so your outcome is a 24-6 victory for the Lions, improving to 10-1, continuing to stay in first place in that tough, rough, and rugged NFC North division. They got the quick turnaround Thanksgiving. They'll be hosting the Chicago Bears. Bears are a dangerous team, as we've seen. They aren't winning, but they're right there in a lot of these ball games. And so last year, the Lions were exceptional. They were, shocking the entire NFL. Maybe not shocking. That's not a good word because I think most of us felt like they were on the rise and they were coming. Pause. But we didn't expect them to be as dominant as they were last year. I didn't, at least. I can't speak for anybody else. A lot of people did think the Lions were going to be really good last year. And they were. But they weren't on Thanksgiving last year. If you remember, Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers, who at that time weren't playing great football, went in there and jumped those boys on Thanksgiving. I think they were up 27-3 or 6 or something, 7 at halftime. It was really jarring. Now, the Lions made a hell of an effort to come back in that game, but they fell short. But I only bring it up because the Bears are in a similar spot. Now, the Packers were a better team than the Bears were at this time last year. And the Packers, ultimately used that win as a springboard to get hot late in the season and ultimately make the playoffs. I don't see that happening for the Bears, but anything's possible. Can't sleep on a team in the division on a quick turnaround. But that should be an interesting game. But the Lions right now seem to have it stuck on automatic. Defensively, I think that's their third or fourth game this season of giving up, 10 or less points in a game. I think it's the second week in a row they've given up, or second time in 3 weeks. I don't think they played Jacksonville the week before, or maybe they did. Yeah, they did play Jacksonville. So that's the second week in a row they've given up 6 points to an opponent. I mean, they've been super dominant this season to have the Lions, and it's why they're the number 1 team on the power index. So with that said, let's go ahead and transition to our next segment of the show, Slate Skatin'. But before we do that, let's get into a quick word from one of our sponsors. What's going on? It's your man Louie T, back on behalf of the beautiful people over at Via, who were gracious enough to send me another box, because the last one they sent me and my wife ate them up like Halloween candy. They were so delicious, and those intended results that we were looking for we got. So before I start today, I want to thank all of you who purchased via off of the last promo that I did and used the promo code, sent me your overall experience with the product, rave reviews across the board. It was your purchases that got me another box with Via. So I want to thank you guys because this product is one that I believe in. And now I think I've made believers out of many of you. And I'm here to spread the cheer. Again, holiday season, big deals coming up. Via's got a couple of them on their site. So I'm going to talk to you about those in a second. But before we do that, I want to actually talk to you about some of the products that they've sent and how I enjoy these products and what they all bring to the table. So the three products you see in front of you right now are all THC free. So no buzz here. All of these have intended effects. And usually when you look for certain products, you want to see what they do because they have certain effects. And so I can speak to this first one here, Flow State, is one that I actually used today, right? This is something that helps with focus. I got a lot going on. I need to lock in. This Flow State right here helps me get that job done. All right. So then this one here is Revive. You know, a lot of times if I go to the gym and I come back and I just want to relax or I've had a long day, this is the one that I take here to help me kind of simmer down a bit. And then this one right here is Zen. And this is one that, like my wife, for instance, sometimes has trouble sleeping. And so pop one of these puppies, lights out, baby. And it works like a charm, not looking for the buzz, but looking for some Z's. This will get the job done for you. Now, you go to these right here. These four are the ones that they've sent that all have some sort of THC in them. The ones on the end here, this one is called Cloud9. This one here is High Love. Those two have 5 milligrams of THC. Now, the beauty of Via is you can go from 0 milligrams, as I've showed you some, products that have no THC in them, all the way to 100 milligrams. If you're trying to go to the moon, if you're trying to go to Mars or Jupiter, you get 100 milligrams, right? 50 milligrams, whatever is to your preference. But for me, I don't need much, right? 5 milligrams gets the job done. These two in the middle here, Elevate and Dreams, as you can see, they say microdose on them. 2 milligrams, so you don't need as much with those, right? Or in terms of how much you're taking. If you don't want a lot of THC, but you just want a little THC, these microdoses help you here in that regard. And so you can kind of tailor it to whatever you're looking for. It's cuffing season. Y'all know what time it is. A lot of babies get produced around this time of the year. Enter in my friend High Love, right? That's that guy right there. Me and my wife enjoy this one a lot, maybe a little too much, right? That has all kinds of aphrodisiacs in it. It works. Trust me. This one here is Elevate, and this is one of the ones for focus. Again, this is a microdose one, so only 2 milligrams in this one. But again, it gets the job done depending on, what you need. So same thing with this one, microdose, Dreams. We had this one last time in the 5 milligram, works like a charm. You're feeling good and you're getting good sleep all at the same time. And then last but not least, one of my favorites, Cloud9. If I just want to mellow out, I just want to chill. I just want to watch some TV, feel a buzz, feel good. This is what I'm taking right here. 5 milligrams of this. If one's not enough for you, you need maybe 10, you can take 2 of these, or you can just buy the 10 milligram dosage, 20 milligram if you need to go up even more. And they've got so many more products, right? This is just a small sample size of what they provided for me. And I advocate for all of them. They all work in different ways, and you can tailor your experience with these hemp-based products to your liking. I myself don't need a ton, okay? But for some of you who may be a little bit more seasoned in this environment and space, you may need a little bit more. They can take care of you if you need more, if you need less, or you need no THC. Obviously, they're products for you as well. So you know what it is. You see up above the bit.ly link for me with this product. Use that link, and that'll help them know that I sent you. Promo code LouieT, get you 15% off right now, site-wide. You can get up to 25% off on the entire site for Via. And with specific items and bundles, you may get 50% off. Okay. But if that is all, if that whole ad is over, okay, if that whole sale is done, you get there by the time you've seen this ad and this read, and they're no longer having that site-wide sale, and there are no bundles that are up to 50% off, you can still use this promo code LouieT, and you will get 15% off of your purchase on the Via website. So make sure you're taking advantage of this opportunity. A lot of great products here. This is one of the best products I've ever endorsed. So with that said, happy holidays and get you some Via. All right. So make sure that you're 21 years of age or older to hit that site and get you some of that Via, man. Look, I put my stamp on certain things. I'm very particular. Like y'all make fun of me calling me Pusha T, and I get a kick out of that. But you guys have no idea how many products I've been approached to endorse, and I'm not going to do it if I don't believe in the product itself, right? I believe in that product. And a lot of you have tried it and purchased it and have come back and told me, hey, you were right. And so do yourself a favor. Get you some Via. All right. Now, go ahead and put your skates on, though. All right. Put your skates on. And let's go slate skating. Week 12 edition. We just talked about week 13 power index. Let's put a bow on week 12 so we can then turn our attention to week 13. So go ahead, put your skates on. I got my rollerblades on. I'm ready to rock and roll so we can get this thing going. So without any further ado, we'll get through this very quickly. Let's go slate skating. Week 12 edition. We'll start with the Commanders and Cowboys. What a crazy, crazy finish to a very bad game. This game ultimately ended up being hella entertaining. But if you watch the first 54 minutes, it was a snooze fest, and you might have vomited a couple of times from all of the mistakes and miscues from both teams. It was a nasty watch. But right around the 6-minute mark, things got really interesting in this game. Just to give you an idea of how crazy it got, the score was 13-9 with 6 minutes to go in this game. The final score ended up 34-26. You do the math as to how many points were scored in the final 6 minutes of this game. It was insane. Okay. That said, Cowboys snapped their 5-game losing streak, beat the Commanders 34-26. Commanders lose their 3rd straight game, dropped to 7-5, and they are reeling right now. Just quickly, Commanders were down 13-9. They fumble the ball. Cowboys recover, score a touchdown 3 or 4, let's say 6 plays later. It's 20-9. The game feels over. The Commanders drive down the field. Cowboys are kind of playing a prevent defense, which I'll never understand. But the Commanders drive it down the field, score, go for 2, convert the 2-point conversion, cut it to a 3-point game at 20-17 with just under 3 minutes to go, with 2 minutes and 56 seconds left in the game. They kick the ball off to Kevontae Turpin. Bad decision. He muffs the ball, picks it up, spins, and haul asses for 99 yards and a touchdown. Pushes the lead back out to 10 at 27-17. It feels like the game's over. Commanders only have 2 timeouts. They need to score before the 2-minute warning. They don't score before the 2-minute warning. So they get to about 1:40. They get in field goal range. They kick a field goal to make it 27-20. They kick an onside kick. They don't recover. Cowboys then run the football 3 times. They try a bootleg on 2nd down. It doesn't work. They take a sack. So they push themselves out of any field goal range. But they run the clock down to 34 seconds and punt the ball, and the Commanders have the ball at their own 14-yard line, down 27-20. On the first play of the drive, Jaden Daniels hits Terry McLaurin on an improbable 86-yard touchdown. It's wild. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. He scores a touchdown. The place is going nuts. Lightning has struck twice in Washington, as Joe Davis, who called the game, said. And then the color analyst, Greg Olson, says, hey, this extra point isn't automatic. This has been a pretty rough day special teams wise. Joe Davis earlier in the game said that this was the worst special teams game he had ever watched, and Greg Olson pretty much agreed. Why did they say that? So the Commanders in the game missed two, well, at that time had only missed one extra point, had also missed a field goal, and also had given up a kickoff return for a touchdown. The Cowboys had a field goal blocked, had a field goal missed, and a punt blocked. So, yeah, it was a pretty rough day special teams wise for both teams. And so he says that, of course, as fate would have it, the extra point is missed. Commanders go down 27-26. They have to kick another onside kick with 4 seconds left or whatever. The Cowboys recover and run it back for a touchdown, which was a dumb move. He should have just slid, at the 5-yard line or whatever. And, the game's over. They just can take knees in victory formation instead of scoring, going up 8, now giving the Commanders another chance with 14 seconds left to throw a Hail Mary and have lightning strike twice in one game. But instead, he goes in, scores a touchdown. Commanders are down 8. They get into Hail Mary position, do the Commanders, but they aren't able to complete it this time. It's picked off, and the Cowboys secure the victory, 34-26. A wild finish to a very, very crazy game indeed. And so that's a hell of a way to kick off our slate skatin session. Bucks Giants. This was a thorough ass kicking here. Bucks win this game 30-7, fresh off of their bye. Baker Mayfield, 24 of 30 for 294 in this game. Bucky Irving, 12 carries, 87 yards, a touchdown. Mike Evans was back from his injury off of IR. 5 catches, 68 yards. But the story here was just the sheer dominance of the Buccaneers on the defensive side of the football. They really didn't allow the Giants to do much of anything. And then the story after the game was Malik Neighbors not happy with his targets. He did not get the football in this game early. He didn't start getting targeted until the game was well in hand for the Buccaneers. And he voiced his displeasure with that after the game. It was a comical exchange with the media in the locker room after the game when they asked him. And look, I think there will be no more off-season Hard Knocks. I think that's a one-and-done situation. There was nothing good that came of that series for the Giants. And I can't imagine a team saying, you know what, I'll sign up to look like a dumbass on national television every week for 4 weeks in July. Yeah, sign me up for that. I don't think anybody else is doing that. Because everything that happened in that show came to fruition, from Mara saying, I can't live with myself. I can't sleep if Saquon goes to the Eagles, and then he goes to the Eagles and he's having an MVP caliber season, to Joe Shane and the free agency and them sitting down Malik Neighbors and literally asking him, hey, if we're losing games and you're not getting the ball, how would that make you feel? And he's like, I'll be pissed off. I'm not going to be happy about it. I'm going to let y'all know I ain't happy about it. And Great Dabo was like, good. I want you to be that way. Right. I'm the same way. Right. And so they got what they asked for. Right. They're getting their ass kicked. He's not getting the football. And he's like, I don't know why. You got to go ask, Dabo. Don't ask me. Go ask Dave's. I don't know. He was killing that gum. I don't know. You got to go ask Dave. I don't know. All I know is, we getting our ass kicked, and I don't start getting the ball until after. I can't tell you what that's all about. He was punishing that gum. Like, bro, I need you to calm down, all right, on that gum. But I'm here for all of it, right? Baker Mayfield did the, hey, Pazan sign in the end zone. That, caused a little bit of a conversation after the game. Baker also filed a lawsuit against his dad, who he said stole essentially $12 million of his money for some of his investments. That's a nasty situation, but we'll see how that gets resolved. But the Bucks, don't look now. They're 5-6. Got a very doable schedule down the stretch. I'm just saying, with the Falcons struggling the way that they are, I wouldn't count out this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team just yet. Meanwhile, the Giants are now the number 1 pick in the NFL draft if it were to start today. Good for them. And I honestly don't know if they're going to win another game. Like, they seem to be getting progressively worse as the weeks pass. I still think they're going to sneak a team or two down the stretch, but Tommy DeVito got injured in this game. They don't think he's going to be able to go on Thursday. Drew Lock looks like he's going to get the nod. I've heard that DeVito's not even going to make the trip. So if that's true, then you're going to see Drew Lock get the start. They could become dangerous. I felt like they were more dangerous with Tommy DeVito. Obviously, that didn't work out on Sunday, but they weren't going to beat Tampa Bay anyway. They got a shot against Dallas. Dallas is bad. And I know they won and they scored 34 points. You watch the game. Dallas stinks. Cooper Rush stinks. This is a bad Cowboys team. And I wouldn't count out the Giants on Thanksgiving. That's all I'm saying. Especially now that you got a guy in there in Drew Lock who has something to prove, right? He came to New York to get an opportunity. He's getting an opportunity now. Let's see what he does with it. Giants lose this game, but they're winning the war, right? 30-7. They're now the number 1 overall team in the NFL draft. Let's see if they can keep it that way. Chiefs Panthers. We talked about this game briefly earlier. Chiefs hold on and survive 30-27 in this game. This was an interesting football game. The Chiefs got off to such a fast start. I thought they were going to absolutely destroy the Carolina Panthers in this game. This thing was 7-0 in the blink of an eye. Like, they had a good return on the kickoff, and then he finds Noah Gray, and I'm like, damn, that was quick. And just like that, it was 7-0. They scored a field goal later on in the quarter. It's 10-3, and it just felt like, all right, I see where this is heading, right? And then the Panthers kind of settled in. It was 10-6. And then it was 20-6. And I'm like, okay, I see where this is heading at halftime, right? It's 20-6. The Panthers, and I thought this was a big little stretch here. So the Panthers get a field goal before the half and make it 20-9. And I thought that was their sign that, hey, we're not going away. This is not going to be an ass whooping. Because if it's 20-6 at halftime, I think all the momentum is with the Chiefs. They scored the field goal at the end of the first half. The touchdown to Noah Gray was his second of the game. And they got all the momentum. And they wrestled some of that momentum back, did the Panthers. And then they hung in. And next thing you know, you look up and it's 20-16. And I'm like, the hell are the Chiefs doing? Like, don't play with your food. You know better, right? You're 2-time defending Super Bowl champion. Don't play with your food. You just take care of business. And you look up, and this thing, like, credit the Panthers defensively in the red zone. They held the Chiefs out of the end zone a couple of times there, where they allowed themselves to stay in the game. You also have to credit the Chiefs defense, because if the Panthers were able to get into the end zone on some of these possessions, they might have won this game. So it kind of goes both ways. But when it's all said and done, this thing was 27-19. It was 27-16, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And the Panthers chipped away, made it 27-19. Chipped away, got the touchdown, got the 2-point conversion, tied it up at 27. And then, Patrick Mahomes does what he does. Got down the field, got them in the field goal range, and they win this game 27-37 for 269, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions for Patrick Mahomes in this game. He had a big scramble late that really put them in field goal range. But it's about Bryce Young, man. 21 of 35, 263, one touchdown, no interception. He's looking like an NFL quarterback after not looking like a competent NFL quarterback all of last year and for much of the early stretch of this season before being benched. He looks like a competent NFL quarterback. And I had a podcast last week where I said a little benching, a little time off ain't never hurt nobody. And I talked about all the guys that benefited from being sat down. You know, this is a new thing. This was never a thing that was good. There was never a good connotation from being benched as a young quarterback. It didn't happen in past years. You don't sit a young quarterback down. Once you break that seal, once you pop the top on that young quarterback, he's got to figure it out on the field. But Will Levis got a little bit of a break. He's come back playing excellent football. Bryce Young got a little break. He's come back, looked much better than he did prior to his benching. Anthony Richardson got benched, came back, looks a lot better, way better than he did prior to his benching. So we see a little trend happening here where these young quarterbacks are getting timeouts and they're coming back and they're looking better because of it. Bryce Young fitting that narrative right now, but in typical bad team fashion, they weren't able to win the game. And the Chiefs just know how to win. Good teams find ways to win. It doesn't have to be pretty. Again, in 3 weeks from now, we won't be talking about them beating the Panthers by 3. We'll just say they beat the Panthers, right? It'll just be another notch and tally mark in the left-hand column. But I only bring it up to say this. They're not sharp right now. The Chiefs aren't. But help is on the way. They're going to get Isaiah Pacheco back here on Friday against the Raiders on Black Friday. And they'll continue to get pieces of the puzzle back. And I think that as they continue to gain more continuity with the pieces that they've acquired and added, they'll be fine. Is ultimately how I feel. They'll be fine. But the biggest thing is they got to get this offense on track. And it was the Panthers. Take it with a grain of salt. But it's good to see Mahomes throw for 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. It's been a long time since he's done that, it feels like. Chiefs are now 10-1. Panthers are 3-8. Dolphins continue to play winning football. I think this is 3 straight wins now. Rams, Raiders, and now the Patriots. They're now 5-6 after starting the season off. 2-6. This game was 31-0 at one point. This game was total ass thrashing at the hands of these Dolphins. The Patriots were never in this game. Tua Tagovailoa, 4 touchdown passes. Jonnu Smith is becoming very vastly his favorite target to get the football to. Jonnu Smith was outstanding yet again. 9 catches, 87 yards. Jalen Waddle had his best game of the season, 8 catches, 144 yards. Both of those gentlemen had touchdowns. Again, Tua, 4 touchdown tosses, 29 of 40, 317 yards on the day as Tua continues to show his worth and value as the signal caller for the Miami Dolphins. Meanwhile, it was a very forgettable day for Drake May. 22 of 37, 222. Not bad. 1 touchdown, 1 interception, sacked 4 times, but he never got this offense in rhythm in this football game. Sacked 4 times. Just kind of looked out of sorts all day. The run game was non-existent, and anytime you have a young quarterback and you don't give him the aid of a run game, this is what can happen. And it got out of hand very quickly in this game. Dolphins now 5-6, trying to climb back into the playoff picture. Patriots dropped to 3-9. Really exciting and entertaining game. Titans surprise and shock the Houston Texans 32-27. This was a fun one. I enjoyed this game a lot. You got Will Levis is an interesting cat because he has all the talent in the world, physical gifts through the roof. Doesn't always get it mentally, but one thing I can say is he is mentally tough. And this game showcased a little bit of that. So The Texans come out swinging out of the gates. They make it look easy on their opening possession. They get a great return from Damian Pierce, right? Looks like he's bottled up on the opening kickoff, comes out of that pack somehow and rumbles for like 85 yards on the opening kickoff. And that leads to a Cade Stover touchdown, his first touchdown reception of his career. And just like that, one play in, 2 plays if you count the kickoff return, Texans are up 7-0, and you're thinking, okay, this is going to be a continuation of Monday Night Football against Dallas. They're going to roll these boys, and they're going to get back on track. And the Titans and Will Levis said, not so fast, my friends. They go down, they get a field goal. They ultimately take a 17-7 lead, 17 unanswered points by the Tennessee Titans. He connects with Nick Westbrook-Akine on a deep ball, hits Calvin Ridley on a deep ball that sets up another touchdown. You got Tony Pollard running his ass off. He ran for over 100 yards in this game. And all of a sudden, the Texans are on the ropes, but they battle back. They're the Texans. They're the better team. They're at home. And so they weather the storm. They come back. They ultimately take the lead in this game. But Will Levis throws a pick six. The Titans at that time, if I'm not mistaken, were up 23-20. And he throws a pick six. And they take the lead to the Texans 27-23. And they're like, that's nasty. And that was supposed to be it. That was supposed to be it. Like, he had been struggling up until that point after the fast start. He had been struggling, and that pick six kind of culminated the struggle. And then after the pick six, they just settle him down. They run a boot with their tight end, Chig Okonkwo, coming across the field. They turn him completely loose. He catches about an 8-yard pass and then turns on the burners. I mean, he was flying on this play. They couldn't catch him. And he scores a 70-yard touchdown to give the Titans the lead at 30-27. And that was the game-winning score. We didn't know it at the time. But now the Titans are back in it. They're feeling good. The Texans move it all the way down the field late in the game. And Kamimi Fairbairn, who had already connected on a long field goal, had set the NFL record for most 50-plus yard field goals in a single season with 12. He made his 12th one of the game. Misses a 30-yard field goal. Had to be 30 yards, 26 yards, something like a chip shot. I'm going to call it 30 yards. And his reaction said it all. He kicked it. He knew he missed it immediately because the ball was on the left hash. If you're on the offense, if you're on the defense, it's on the right hash. And so he was kicking from that left hash, and he pushed it left and never had a chance. And he knew it. And as soon as he kicked it, he fell down on his back and put his hands on his head, right? So they're still down 3, but they got to get – the game's not over. There's enough time for them to get a stop, use their timeouts, get the football back. And they do that. But in doing that, they get pinned deep in their own territory. So C.J. Stroud's going to have to engineer this ridiculous drive pretty much from the shadow of his own end zone. And he can't do it. As a matter of fact, he gets sacked on the first play, which puts the ball down at the 1. And then on that, I want to say it might have been third down. It might have been second down. I think it was third down. He's in the back of the end zone trying to extend the play. And he's about to run out of bounds, Dan Orlovsky style. And he gets sacked for safety. Like he pretty much had already stepped out of bounds. Like, dude, what are you doing? You can't be back there running around when you got no space. That made it 32-27. They had to kick an onside kick. They did not recover. And the Titans go into Houston and beat the Houston Texans 32-27. The Texans, again, they're going to win that division because there's no other good team in that division. But the Texans have been bullshitting. They've been bullshitting for over a month now. And they don't have their shit together. They lost to the Jets. They now have lost to the Titans. They're not playing good football, to be honest with you. And C.J. Stroud was not good in this game. C.J. Stroud had 2 interceptions, 20 of 33 for 247, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And these interceptions were bad interceptions. One of them, you could say, was a miscommunication between he and the receiver. He thought the receiver was going to keep going. Mechie sat down in zone, which was the right thing to do. CJ Stroud thought he was going to keep going, and he threw it out in front, anticipating that he was going to run through the football instead of sitting down, and he threw it right to a defender. That was right before the half that led to Titans points. It's a bad turnover that you can't have. And he almost got picked off again, a third interception. He wasn't sharp in this game. He wasn't sharp. He was not sharp. What I've noticed too with the Texans, before we move on, is anytime you can stop Joe Mixon, 14 carries, 22 yards. This is a stout Titans, run defense. Anytime you can stop Joe Mixon from running the football, you can really stifle this Texans offense and hurt them. The Lions did it. The Titans just did it. If you can stop the run, you got a chance to beat the Texans. Meanwhile, on the other side of this, Will Levis, 18 of 24 for 278. That's almost 12 yards per attempt, per completion. 2 touchdowns, the 1 interception, 8 sacks. That's the only thing, is he's now in a mode of, I'm not going to make the big mistake. I'll take the sack, but I don't want to throw the back-breaking pick or have the crazy fumble. He still threw a back-breaking pick in this game, but he did rebound to throw that touchdown. He's been really good since he's come back, and he's not missing the deep ball. Hit one to Calvin Ridley, hit another one to Nick Westbrook-Akine. He's making smart decisions. I don't think he saw that defender. I don't know how he didn't see Jimmy Ward on that play that he got picked off on, but he's playing a lot better. And this Titans team has been in every game since he's come back. They haven't won them. This is the first one they've been able to win, but they've been in a lot of these games. He's playing a lot better. Tony Pollard also had one of his best days as a Titan. He went over 100 yards in this game, 24 carries, 119 yards, and a touchdown. So Titans playing a lot better football now. They're now 3-9 or 8, on the season. Texans are 7-5, and they're struggling. But they are going to still win that division because, again, there are no other good teams in the AFC South. Detroit at Indy. Like I said, this was another one of those dominant performances by the Lions. They went into Indy. Again, game kind of started slow for Detroit. This was a 3-0 game at the end of one, but things started to heat up in the second. They got going, got the ground game going. Jared Goff started to settle in a little bit. It's 14-6 at half, and they kind of cruise from there, right? Kind of just put their foot on the necks of this Colts offense. Goff, very efficient, 26 of 36, 269, no touchdowns, no interceptions. But Jahmyr Gibbs, 21 carries, 90 yards. David Montgomery, 8 carries, 34 yards. So both backs over 4 yards a carry. They really controlled the pace of this game, did Detroit. No big explosives like they had against Jacksonville the week before. But just a slow, methodical approach against an opponent that's tough in their own building. And they went in there and got it done. Anthony Richardson kind of reverted back to the very inaccurate Anthony Richardson. There were some wild misses. He had guys open. We've seen this movie before from him. 11 of 28 in this game for 172 yards. There were some opportunities for some big plays that could have helped put some points on the board and really maybe applied greater pressure to the Lions in this game. But he was simply incapable of hitting those plays, and thus it put them in a tough spot. And so the Lions continue to roll. They're now 10-1 on the season. There might have been a loss in this game. We'll see. Khalif Raymond was carted off in this game. A dynamic return man and a guy that can stretch the field vertically at times. We'll see what the extent of that injury is, but they continue to roll. They're 10-1 on the season. Meanwhile, the Colts dropped to 5-7. Vikings Bears, what a fun one this was. This was a really entertaining game. It started off crazy. The Vikings went down the field, scored, were in position to start this game fast, and you get a fumble from Aaron Jones. He was pissed after he fumbled that football. And the Bears were able to recover, and it just kind of seemed like this was going to be a back and forth affair. It's 7-0 after that fumble. The Bears were able to go down the field and score a touchdown a little bit later on in that quarter. Then the Vikings strike back and they go 14 unanswered. It's 14-7. And then Chicago able to get a field goal. I thought it was a big field goal. Anytime you can score right before the half, that's a momentum builder for me. And so they were able to score that field goal. But then it was all Vikings in the third quarter, and it felt like the Bears had opportunities. They weren't able to convert in some situations that were there for them. Guys dropped passes, uncharacteristic mistakes that they were making. And thus, the Vikings assumed total control of this game at 24-10. But then the fourth quarter happened, and the Bears just hung around. All right. It's 24-16. They tried to go for two. They didn't get it. Then the Vikings added a field goal. So I had initially turned the game off after the field goal attempt. Once it went 27-16, this was with just a shade under 2 minutes to go, right? I'm like, this game's over. So I turned the TV off because my game, the Cowboys and Commanders game, it went final already, and I was heartbroken at how our game ended. So, once I saw that game was over, and the Panthers game had already expired with the Chiefs kicking that walk-off field goal, there was really no reason for me to stick around. There were no other close games. You saw what the Dolphins were doing to the Patriots, and the Lions had already defeated the Colts. So I had no other, game to watch. So I just turned that off, and I got ready for my show. I ended up, I'm doing my show, and I go to open up the statistics from the Commanders game, and I look and I see that because I'm thinking the game ended, 27-16. If not 27-16, 27-22 or 27-24, because the Bears, scored a touchdown, went for two, got it, but then didn't get the onside kick, right? So I'm thinking either they, failed on the fourth down, lost the game 27-16, or they did ultimately score, don't get the 2-point conversion, and lose the game 27-22, or they do score, do get the 2-point conversion, but don't get the onside kick. Because who recovers onside kicks these days, right? With the new rules and how it's set up, nobody recovers onside kicks, right? Wrong. The Bears recovered the onside kick. In this game, they scored a touchdown with what was 14 seconds left or something crazy like that. 22 seconds left. They kick an onside kick, they recover it, and they're able to get into field goal range. And Cairo Santos makes a 48-yard field goal as time expires to tie this thing up at 27. And I'm just like, you got to be shitting me. So I had to go back and watch the end of this game. It was so nuts. Caleb Williams has been making plays these last 2 weeks in some critical moments. And he did it again here. But then the Vikings were able to get it done in overtime. And John Parker Romo, the serial kicker, was able to hit it from 29 yards out to give the Vikings the victory. But, it's all about the quarterbacks here. Sam Darnold, 22 of 34, 330 and 2 scores, no interceptions. Sam Darnold continues to impress this year. How can Kevin O'Connell not be head coach of the year right now? Seriously. How is he not head coach of the year? Aaron Jones, 22 carries, 106 yards, 1 touchdown. He was really good in this game. So was Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson. 7 for 114 for Hawkinson, 8 for 162 for Addison. He was the one that really kicked off the scoring for the Vikings in this game. Meanwhile, for the Bears, Caleb Williams he's heating up. He really is. 32 of 47, 340, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions in this game. Also ran for 33 yards on 6 carries. DJ Moore had a really good game, 7 catches, 106 yards. Keenan Allen made some big catches in some big spots in this game. Cole Kmet had a big drop on a 3rd down. They were doing uncharacteristic things, but ultimately, when it's all said and done, the Vikings found a way to get it done in overtime. That was a fun game with a crazy finish. There were some crazy finishes on Sunday, and this was one of them. Vikings are now 9-2. Bears drop to 4-7 and see any hopes of making the postseason slowly slipping away. Broncos, Raiders. The Raiders just continue to lose, and the Broncos continue to win, and Bo Nix continues to play really, well. Bo Nix, 25 of 42 for 273, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Had some misses in this game, especially early on, but as the game continued to press forward, he got better and better. One thing that I've talked about since the preseason with Bo Nix is his athleticism and his legs. That's on full display. He's playing with an abundance of confidence. He's not taking the sacks that he was taking earlier in the season. He's not making the big mistake that he was making earlier in the season. He's taking care of the football. He's extending plays as a passer. All right. And then if need be, he'll run, but he's extending plays as a passer and he's making things happen. And that defense we already knew was good. It's been good. It continues to be good. And they continue to find ways to get it done. And so he did a lot of this damage in that game without really a run game, right? This was a lot of it falling on his shoulders. The Raiders continue to struggle. Gardner Minshew got injured in this game, but not before he went 25 of 42 for 230, a touchdown and an interception. Desmond Ridder came in after he got injured, 5 of 10, 64 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. It'll be interesting to see who they turn to moving forward now that Gardner Minshew is out for the rest of the season. Whether it'll be Desmond Ridder, I think they just got the other quarterback from Purdue back from injury. So yeah, I wonder what the decision will be at quarterback as they play on Friday versus the Denver or versus the Kansas City Chiefs. But this was a close game. Like, the Raiders were leading this game at halftime, right? This was a 13-9 game, and they got stuck on 13. That was the big problem. They got stuck on 13 for a while, and once the Broncos took the lead, they never relinquished it at 16 to 13. They never gave the lead back to the Raiders, and they ultimately win this game 29-19. So I'm intrigued by the Denver Broncos. You know, anytime you got a young quarterback and he's playing well, I'm always intrigued by your football team, and they're finding ways to win. The Raiders, Shador Sanders put out another thank God tweet after the Raiders lost their, I think, 7th game in a row. I think they were 2-2 at one point this season, if I'm not mistaken. And so he posted another thank God with the praise emoji. And so his quest to become a Raider continues as the Raiders fall to 2-9 on the season. Packers and 49ers. This was a beatdown, but we knew it was. Once Brock Purdy wasn't able to go, you knew what this game was going to be, right? Everybody kind of assumed that this was going to be an ass thrashing, and it was. This game was never close. This was 17-0. It was 24-7. It was 31, then 38-10, which is the final score here. You already knew what was going to happen once there was no Brock Purdy and they had to go with Brandon Allen. You already knew what it was. So Allen went out, tried to manage the game, but this is the issue, and this has been the issue since he's come back. Christian McCaffrey couldn't take over. Right. He has not had a 100-yard performance since coming back from the injury. No one's really respecting the 49ers run game right now. Like, it used to be a bully of a run game. You were going to have to respect that. And there were other aspects of their offense that came off of the ability for them to run it at will. Since he's come back, he's been a non-factor. Really, he has. He's probably been more of a factor in the pass game than he has the run game. And so he struggled in this game. He had more receiving yards than he did rushing yards in this game. That means you're putting the onus on Brandon Allen to try and go win you a football game. He's not prepared to do that on the road against the Green Bay Packers. No, he's not. And so you saw where that was going. Meanwhile, Jordan Love, 13 of 23, 163 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He really didn't need to do much in this game because of the status of the 49ers. This was a Josh Jacobs game. Let's turn around. Let's hand the football off to Jacobs and Emmanuel Wilson and let them do the heavy lifting here. And that's a good idea, too, because you want to take the ball out of Love's hands a little bit so he doesn't throw an interception and give the 49ers life as well. Jacobs, 26 carries, 106 yards, 3 touchdowns for Josh Jacobs. If you had him on your fantasy team, he might have single-handedly won you a game this past weekend. Another interception for Xavier McKinney. Like that's another thing from that Hard Knocks series for the Giants that has to be another moment in Giants history that'll go down as another what the hell were we thinking decision. Xavier McKinney has exploded this year. I think he has 7 interceptions this season. Let me just double check that. I believe he's got 7 interceptions this year. There's Xavier McKinney. He probably didn't have 7 interceptions his entire career before this season. But this man is a machine. He's in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. If not most improved player at a bare minimum. He is a dog back there. And I loved him. I remember, if you're a Commanders fan, I advocated for him, but I said he's going to cost too much money. We weren't going to be willing to give up what it was going to take to get him. And he probably wasn't going to want to come to Washington after watching this team from afar in the division, seeing how dysfunctional of a franchise we were. He wanted to go somewhere stable after leaving the Giants. They were dysfunctional. He didn't want to go to another dysfunctional organization. He goes to Green Bay, and he's having a career year. And so Packers continue to roll. They're now 8-3. Quietly, the Packers are 8-3. Right? It hasn't been the cleanest, it hasn't been the prettiest, but they're 8-3. They're right in the mix, right in that division with the 9-2 Vikings and the 10-1 Lions. So and the 49ers are now 5-6, but they're 1 game out of first place. So as bad as it's looked for them, and nobody really wants to play them come playoff time, right? They can still get in. If they can get healthy, they can still get in and win that division and be a force. So won't count them out yet, but they've got to get on their horse, and they've got to do it fast. Speaking of getting on a horse, the Seattle Seahawks have gotten on a horse here lately. We left them for dead just a month ago, right? They had, got beat down by the Lions on a Monday night. They had a big win on the road against Atlanta, but then they followed that up with a stinker on a Thursday night against the 49ers, and then they had another loss after that. I forget who it was against, but it wasn't pretty, that's for sure. And we, at that point, we were like, okay, yeah, we see what Seattle is. And then out of nowhere, I think they lost to the Rams. That's what it was, in overtime. And then, so we left them for dead after that. 2 straight losses in the division. You're no longer in first place. You're trending in the wrong direction. You're under 500. We thought, okay, first year head coach, this thing's about to bottom out, right? And instead, they've rallied. They've won 2 straight in the division, including an improbable come-from-behind victory over San Francisco on the road. 49ers continue to struggle in late game situations. And then they go home and they take care of the division leading Arizona Cardinals, who were coming off of a bye, 16-6. It was not a pretty game, as the score indicates, but it was a game that they literally 7-3 at halftime and no points in the first quarter. And this thing is 13-3. And the 13 came from a pick 6 thrown by Kyler Murray. Like, this is a 7-3 game, mid stages of the third quarter. And the big, game deciding play essentially is a Kyler Murray pick 6 that pushes this thing out to 2 scores. And that was a little bit too much for Arizona to overcome in this game. Kyler Murray was solid, but this is another one of those teams that they're so much more effective when they are running the football. And James Conner was, not effective. I'm wondering if he got banged up in this game. But when they can run the football with Connor, it just opens up a wealth of opportunities for the rest of that offense. But they weren't able to run the football. And so everything was kind of put at the feet of Kyler Murray to go get it done. Trey McBride had a career day, 12 catches, 133 yards. But again, it did not lead to any touchdowns. No touchdowns scored in this game for the Arizona Cardinals. Meanwhile, Geno Smith, 22 of 31, 254, a touchdown, one interception. They really didn't have a run game in this game at all, but they were able to do enough. This was more about that Mike McDonald defense that we saw last year be dominant in Baltimore. It was dominant in this game for the most part. Now, the Cardinals had some passing yards, but they could not put the football in the end zone. And ultimately, that is what sparked this victory. They held the Cardinals to 3 of 12 on third downs. The Cardinals went for it on fourth down once, not able to get it done. The Cardinals were 0 of 2 in the red zone. Again, you know, I'm a big third down and red zone efficiency guy. Those two numbers, coupled with the turnover battle, both had one turnover in the game, are usually my ways of figuring out how the outcome was reached. And you can see that the Cardinals were not effective on third downs. They weren't effective in the red zone. And that's how you lose football games in this league. And got to credit that defense of the Seattle Seahawks for getting it done in this game. Now both teams leave this game at 6-5. However, because of the victory, Seattle at 6-5 is now in first place, or are now in first place in the NFC West. Crazy, crazy situation in that NFC West, because both the Cardinals and the Seahawks are 6-5. Seahawks, with this, by virtue of this victory, are in first place. But the two teams behind them in the Rams and the 49ers are just 5-6, just one game back, right? You lose next week, Arizona wins, or Seattle, you lose next week and the Rams win next week, and boom, you know, we could see a changing of the guard of first place, right? So that division is going to be wild. And I still think it's a one bid division. So you have to win the division to get in. But with the way the Commanders are playing right now, opening up that final, you know, seventh and final seed, you may be able to sneak in the back door of the postseason as the seventh seed if they continue to struggle the way that they have been. But that division is going to be interesting, to say the least, down the stretch. So that, my friends, is slate skating for week number 12 in the National Football League. Let's get to couple comments. We got a couple comments here, and then we will finish up the show with garbage time. Let's go ahead and transition to garbage time as we speak, and we'll get to the comment section real quick. Black Al B, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy, the Black Al B. Right, Vikes picked up Jamin Davis. Give me the deets. Okay, so Jamin Davis is a extremely athletic linebacker that is best utilized off the ball in coverage. We used him in coverage quite a bit when he was at his best. I like him as a blitzer, a guy that can affect the passer if, you know, used as a blitzer. We tried to convert him to a defensive end. This year it did not work. So he's better as an off the ball linebacker who can run with running backs and tight ends. But at his core, he's a run and chase linebacker. Right? He's not an instinctual guy that's going to make a bunch of plays. But he's super athletic, and if you utilize his athleticism correctly, you can get a lot out of him. I've always said that he was best suited to be a guy that you blitzed in the A gap, you know, because you get him on a straight line, unblocked. There's no quarterback in the league getting away from Jamin Davis. So, well, you know, again, I can't imagine him jumping in and having an impact with your team. He'll help you on special teams. And if you give him time to get up to speed on what you're doing, he could be a solid addition to your defense, but he's not going to be a game changer by any stretch of the imagination. So there's that. Mike Jank, been a member for 25 months. Really appreciate you. Who writes, Louie Lou, what's up, my guy? Happy holidays. Likewise, Mike Jank. Distance gone, done grew since the last time I heard from your Playboy. Tighten up. Yeah, it has. It definitely has. Sad state of affairs. I still honestly couldn't tell you how we got here. You know, I mean, I'm slowly but surely figuring it out. But yeah, it's been a hell of. I'll just say this: November has not been kind to the good guys. So the goal is to just flush November, flush it. We don't play any more games in the month of November. Flush it. Let's get rocking and rolling with December. Let's see what December is all about, because November won't it. It was not it. So I'm looking forward to the change of scenery, change in the month, and I'm seeing and hoping that the good guys can get back on track, because this ain't it. This 3-game losing streak, this shit sucks. It does. It sucks, and I'm over it. I'm over the losing. I'm ready to get back to winning. So, we'll see what happens. But yeah, we definitely got to tighten up. This is the week. We got the Titans. We need to tighten up. I agree wholeheartedly. So we have a slate of games on Thursday that are interesting. Let's go ahead and preview those games. So let's get to the Thanksgiving slate of games with the Bears and Lions. And we talked about this already a bit, but this is going to be an interesting contest because the Bears have been playing good football lately. They just haven't been able to win. All right. Sans for the Patriots game, which was just awful. They could have beaten the who did they have? Green Bay. They had Green Bay on the ropes, let them off the hook, and they could have beaten Minnesota, but they couldn't get it done. So look, I expect Detroit to take care of business here, but this is no pushover. This is no walk in the park. I'm interested to see how the Bears respond here. This is their last gasp, their last ditch effort to try to remain relevant in the NFC playoff conversation. You lose here and you drop to 4-8, and you're pretty much a dead team walking at this point, because you're not going to win your final 5 games of the season. So for Detroit, you can't really afford to lose. As good as you've played this season, it sounds weird to say this, but you can't afford to lose because of your division, and then because of the number 1 overall seed in the conference. You got to keep winning. Now, there may be a little bit of space created, this upcoming week with the Eagles playing the Ravens potentially, but that's not a guarantee. And the Cardinals playing the Vikings may provide you Cardinals could be looking to bounce back. Nobody's checking for the Cardinals now after that loss. Vikings going home. Feels like they've been on the road quite a bit here of late. And so the Vikings could get snuck at home. Probably not going to happen, but you're looking for some breathing room. But you don't have it right now. You got to keep winning. So what I've seen from the Bears is you can throw the football on them. You can throw the football on them, and you can run the football on them. Now, to me, if you're able to have success running the ball early, it's going to set up your ability to pass. And that's how the Lions are set up. They're set up to run the football and then go play action off of it, which to me is the Bears' weakness right now. The Vikings were able to do that very successfully, and I think that the Lions are going to be able to duplicate that. Now, here's the thing. If the Bears can get pressure on Jared Goff, we all know Goff, we just saw a 5-interception game from him 3 weeks ago. He's prone to making mistakes if you apply pressure. If you give him time back there, he will carve you up. And so the onus is going to be on this Bears front to apply pressure to Jared Goff. If they cannot do so, they're going to lose this game, and it won't be close. They will get embarrassed on national television on Thanksgiving Thursday to kick off this triple header on Thursday for Thanksgiving. They have to control the line of scrimmage, which means I'm not telling you you're going to stop Sonic and Knuckles, okay? What I'm telling you is you need to slow them down. And if you can't slow down both of them, if you have to pick one, you need to slow down Jahmyr Gibbs because he's the more explosive of the two. Getting bludgeoned to death by David Montgomery isn't fun, but it doesn't lead to a 60-yard touchdown where it can with Jahmyr Gibbs. So you want to slow those guys down, force Jared Goff to have to be in obvious pass situations where you can then tee off and try to get to him and disrupt him. Bat balls in the air, right? Like, it doesn't always have to be sacking him or hitting him. Frustrate him. Bat a couple balls down. Get him off the field on third downs a couple of times. Give yourself a chance to fight in this game. What you don't want to do is allow the Lions to get off to a fast start. You look up, it's 17-3, early stages of the second quarter, and now you're fighting for your life, right? You really want to get to halftime, and either you're up, it's tied, or you're down, one score at 3, or 6 or something like that. Like 10-6 at halftime, you feel good even if you're down, right? 13-10, you feel good even if you're trailing. But if you get to halftime and it's 17-6 or it's 17-3, right, you're in the danger zone. You shouldn't be alone. It starts up front. Got to slow down the rushing attack, get to Jared Goff, and then on the opposite side, same thing applies. You got to be able to run the football. You got to establish some sort of run game with DeAndre Swift, Roschon Johnson, and company. Caleb's going to have to use his legs, and then you got to protect him. Got to protect Caleb. He's been playing extraordinary over the last 2 weeks. Got to keep it going. Ultimately, it's the Lions game to lose. I think this is a 29-16 type of win for Detroit over the Chicago Bears in that game. I'm probably more intrigued by the second game than anybody else is. Giants and Cowboys. Family business, so I've got a vested interest in this game just because it's family business. It's nasty family business. It's the 2-9 Giants versus the 4-7 Cowboys, but the Cowboys stink. So do the Giants. Now, it was brought to my attention that if the Cowboys got hot, like they just beat the Commanders, they got a really soft schedule. They got the Panthers and they play the Bucks, and they got some winnable games down the stretch of this season. If they can right the ship, which Cooper Rush stinks. I can't see them righting a damn thing. But hey, 2 in a row, get to 5-7. If they can beat the Giants, all is not lost. They're talking about giving Mike McCarthy an extension potentially if, he's able to turn things around this season, which I'm all in favor of. Please keep Michael McCarthy as your head coach. I'd love to see that happen. I was looking forward to poaching a couple of staff members from Dallas and bringing them to Washington after that thing was blown up. But if that doesn't occur, so be it, right? I'd much rather deal with the devil I know than the devil I don't know. What I don't want Dallas doing is getting a real head coach like a Mike Vrabel or someone of that ilk that could actually come in there and turn that shit around. I'd much rather deal with Mike McCarthy knowing that he's not going to fix a damn thing and they're going to continue to stink. So I'll take my chances. If them finishing the season winning 4 out of their final 6 is enough to keep his job, so be it. So be it. But the Giants, on the other hand, want to lose. They want to get a quarterback in the upcoming draft. It kind of feels like they are literally tanking as an entire organization. That kind of came to a head with the whole Malik Neighbors situation where he's like, I didn't get targeted until we were down big in the game. Like, what other explanation? Like, early in the season, this man was getting the ball on like every play. Every play. What explanation do you have now all of a sudden that he's not getting targeted until they're down 20-0, 27-0 in the game. What explanation can you come up with other than, no, we want to lose? Now you can get the ball once the game is no longer in doubt. But whatever, like, you can't tell that to Drew Lock. He's going to get out there this week. He's trying to, put himself in a position to be a priority free agent next year that teams are after as a backup quarterback or a guy that can come in and give you a chance to start like a Sam Darnold did this year, right? Where you go somewhere, you're supposed to be a bridge, but you go in there, you play well enough to get a chance to start, and then voila, look what happens. He's trying to position himself to be that guy next year. And so he's going to play his ass off. I was looking forward to Tommy DeVito. I'm not going to front, but I'm just looking forward to these two teams beating the hell out of each other. And what would be crazy is if the Giants were to win this game, because the Giants fans want no parts of a victory. I don't blame them. I was just there last season. These are the most nerve-wracking games when you want to lose, but you're not playing an opponent that is necessarily going to help facilitate that. But we'll see. Cowboys coming off of the win last week probably have a little bit more confidence than they've had here in the last month and a half. And so I think the Giants have a legitimate shot of winning this game. Both of these teams suck ass. And the Cowboys, don't let the 34 points they scored last week fool you. It was 13-9. It was 10-9 in the, at the end of the third quarter. It was 13-9 with 6 minutes to go. And it was a comedy of errors. The Commanders had a starting field position, stands for one possession, the final possession of the first half. You combine their other 5 possessions. They started at at midfield. That was their average starting position. 3 of their 6 drives in the first half started in Cowboys territory because of mistakes by the Cowboys. Block field goal, block punt, et cetera, et cetera. So a fumble, right? Like, they are awful. The Commanders just didn't take advantage of it. So that game is going to be fun. Ultimately, when it's all said and done, I said all of that, and I think the Giants have a shot, but I think the Cowboys are going to beat them. All right. But it's Cooper Rush versus Drew Lock. Anything can happen. But excuse me. I think the Cowboys are ultimately going to win the game, something to the effect of like 20-16, 23-16. It won't be, like fireworks in a shootout. The Cowboys stink on offense. The Cowboys stink overall. So do the Giants. If Tyrone Tracy can run the football, which the Cowboys have the second to worst rush defense in football, and it wasn't exploited for whatever reason last week by the Commanders. But the Giants, I think if they can get Tyrone Tracy going, I think they can win that game. That'll be the key, is can the Giants stop Rico Dowdle and force Cooper Rush to have to throw the football? Right? They did a really good job in early downs of getting, super easy completions. They ran the ball effectively on first downs against the Commanders, and that set them up. Even though they were 2 of 11 on third downs, they didn't take advantage of those great starts to drives. They did a really good job of not allowing Cooper Rush to be in obvious passing situations because they ran the ball effectively and they got a lot of quick completions out of his hand. If the Giants can take those away, if they can take away the run game, if they can take away the quick completions and say, Cooper Rush, beat us on 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, I think they got a shot to get to him, to harass him, to force him to fumble, to force him into an interception and a mistake. The Cowboys have been awful at home this season. They've been the worst home team in the entire league this year. It could continue in this game. If Tyrone Tracy gets off against a bad rush defense, I could see the Giants win this game, but I think the Cowboys are going to win 20-16. Last game of Thanksgiving, Dolphins at Packers. All right, somebody's little streak that they're on has to give here, right? Packers have won 2 in a row, 3 out of their last 4. Meanwhile, 5 out of their last 6, actually. 6 out of their last 7. 7 out of their last 8 actually have the Packers won. So, but 2 in a row, 7 out of their last 8. Meanwhile, the Dolphins have won 3 in a row. And so all of a sudden, this game has a little bit of life to it. Dolphins are trying to get back into the AFC wildcard picture. Packers are trying to remain in the NFC North division title picture. Um, this one's got some legs to it, some life to it. Tua coming off of a 4-touchdown game. Um, the Packers didn't have to do much through the air. Josh Jacobs coming off of a 3-touchdown rushing game. A dominant, destructive performance over the 49ers. Same could be said for the Dolphins over the Patriots. So this game is going to be interesting. The key here is going to be protecting Tua. Continue, like Devin Achane has really been playing well here lately. He has really turned it up. He has been a problem. And can they get him going, right? Can they continue to get the ball out of Tua's hands quickly? That just allows that offense to really get going. Jonnu Smith, as I mentioned earlier, he's really playing good football. And Jalen Waddle starting to come to life. And so Achane, like I said, playing really well. They've got guys stepping up and playing, and it all starts with Tua Tagovailoa. So they have to protect him. They need to run the football. They need to be able to get it out of his hands quickly. Meanwhile, on the other side for Green Bay, Jordan Love can't turn the football over. This Dolphins defense has been pretty solid against the run, right? They were good against the Rams. They were good against the Raiders. They were good against the Patriots in stopping their ground game. A lot of the success that the Packers have had this season has come when Josh Jacobs has gotten the ground game going. Wilson has gotten the ground game going, and it allows Jordan Love play action fake, which they love to do, and then him flinging it down the field to open receivers. They do a good job too of mixing things up. Their receiver out of Michigan State, they'll put him in the backfield. They'll get him the ball on jet sweeps, things of that nature. So he's a dynamic weapon, Jalen Reed. So they do a really good job of diversifying their run game. But if the Dolphins can slow that down and Chop Robinson's coming on, man. He's coming on strong. He's coming on strong. He's starting to get to the quarterback. They're revving it up over there defensively. And if they can get to Jordan Love, he'll do some dumb shit with the football. And Jordan Love is not opposed to throwing it to the wrong color jersey. And so it'll be interesting to see if they can slow down Josh Jacobs, because it starts there. If you can't slow down Josh Jacobs, it's going to be a long day for you. But if you can slow him down, you have a chance to get Jordan Love to throw some shit up for grabs, and you got a chance to pick him off once or twice, and that could be the difference in the game. And so it kind of goes both ways. If you can get to the other team's run game, slow it down, that'll give you a chance to really disrupt that team's quarterback. I just think the Dolphins' success has been solid, but it's fool's gold because of the opponents that they've played. This is the first real opponent that they've played, over the last month. And I think they're going to get got here on the road against Green Bay. But I can say this, the last time Green Bay, I believe, was in this particular position on a Thanksgiving night playing a game, I want to say they were honoring Brett Favre against the Bears. And I want to say Jay Cutler, I don't know if Jay Cutler or not, but the Bears beat them in Lambeau that night. So this spot, I don't think, has necessarily been great to the Packers in recent history, but I got a feeling that they'll change a little bit of that. It would not shock me if the Dolphins won this game. If I could tell you this, I could see the Packers winning this game by 2 scores. I can't see the Dolphins doing the same. I could see the Dolphins winning this game by 3 or 4 points, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 points, something like that. I cannot see them winning this game by 9 or 10 or 13. I could see the Packers winning this game by 9, 10, or 13 points. But ultimately, I think this is a close game, one that the Packers will win. I think this is a game that you'll see the Packers do enough defensively to fluster Tua. And I think they can pick him off once, maybe twice, cool him off, and Jordan Love in that offense will do enough. I don't think they'll have as successful a run game as they had, some of these last couple of weeks, specifically last Sunday against San Francisco. But it'll be just enough there, just enough of Jordan Love, plenty of defense, and a Packer victory, 26-20 over the Dolphins, and it was 26-17, and the Dolphins got a field goal late to put them within one score, but it was the Packers were up comfortably down the stretch, up 2 scores, and they're going to win the game 26-20. So, that is all of your Thursday games. You do have a Black Friday game, so let's talk about that quickly. There's not much to see here. Now, remember, we were in a similar spot last year with these same 2 teams, same exact situation. If you recall, last year Christmas Day, we had Chiefs and Raiders on Christmas Day in Arrowhead, and remember, not too long before that, rather. Antonio Pierce had just taken over as the interim head coach in Vegas. And they go to Kansas City and beat the Chiefs on Christmas Day. And I think it was that win, obviously coupled with the way they finished the season, but it was that win in particular that I think ultimately got him the job. So Jack Jones was huge in that game. He picked off Mahomes. Ran it for a touchdown, was trash talking Mahomes and things of that nature during the course of that game. But they won a low scoring affair in Arrowhead last year on Christmas. Now they're returning to the scene of the crime, this time on Black Friday. I do not expect similar results. Although the Chiefs are not playing their best football, they're light years better than the Raiders at this point. I'd be shocked if the Raiders won another game this season. Them and the Giants look like the 2 worst teams in football right now. So, but they're still fighting defensively. I will give them that. But they just don't have the juice offensively. They don't have a true number 1 receiver, although Jacoby Myers isn't bad. They don't have a true one. Brock Bowers is fan-effing-tastic. He should be in the discussion for Offensive Rookie of the Year. He won't win it because it'll go to one of these quarterbacks. But if this was one of those down years like 2022 was with the young quarterbacks, this would have been the year that a guy like Brock Bowers would have won this award. He's been fantastic this year on a bad Raiders team, I may add. So we already know this. The Chiefs are going to win this game. It's not a matter of if they're going to win. It's by how much. And is this even a competitive game in the fourth quarter? Right? Are you looking for something else to do? Are you looking for something else to watch? Or are you actually locked in because it's a 1-score game in the fourth quarter? Can they keep it close? I don't really know how, right? The only question I have, and I'm pretty sure we should know by now, is will they start Aiden O'Connell, who's back from injury now, if I'm not mistaken, or will they go with Desmond Ridder, who finished up the game last week when Gardner Minshew got injured? So my guess would be Aiden O'Connell if he's healthy. Desmond Ridder stinks. So Aiden gives them the best chance. He's been there. He understands the system, et cetera, et cetera. But we'll see what they ultimately decide to do. The Chiefs are just a better team. I mean, who are we kidding? Even if they're not playing their best, they don't need their best to beat the Raiders. But it is family business. And if family business has taught us nothing over the last month and a half, with Cleveland beating Baltimore and Cleveland beating Pittsburgh and the Titans beating the Texans and the Cowboys beating the Commanders, is don't sleep on a lesser team in a division because they stink. If it's family business, it's family business for a reason. And this is AFC West family business. And if these 2 teams said they ain't did it, then they ain't did it. But if they did, well, that's family business. I said all of that to say this. The Chiefs should win this game 30-13. 30-13. So hopefully you enjoy. Oh, nice little stretch there. Hopefully you enjoy your Thanksgiving weekend. I may chime in if I'm not doing anything, I'm bored, and I just get the urge to just jump on my laptop. I won't be in the office. But if I get the urge to jump on and chop it up with y'all for a little bit about what we just witnessed, I may do that. The likelihood is that I'm not, but I won't count. Don't count me out. Don't count me out. But let me say this right now. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours out there. I said this at the top of the show. I'm going to repeat it once more. This is my favorite time of the year. And the reason it's my favorite time of the year is because it's a holiday. It's another one of these man-made holidays, right? And I'm not a big fan of man-made holidays, which most holidays are man-made holidays, right? But I'm not a big fan of like Valentine's Day and these like holidays that they make up. And that's not really a holiday because you're not off of work for that. But this one I truly cherish and adore because the meaning behind it is not necessarily the greatest, but what it ultimately gets us to do is what I love, and that's spending time with the people that you love the most. And that's what I'm all about. And you do that at no other holiday do you spend time with family and friends and people that you love more so than Thanksgiving. And so it's just this season in general, but this transition from Halloween into Thanksgiving into Christmas into New Year's, which that's the time where you spend the most amount of time with family members and those that you love. And it really kicks off with Thanksgiving. So I'm a big Thanksgiving guy. Enjoy this time. And I keep pushing this and reiterating this because tomorrow's not promised. We don't know how much time we or those we love have left in the physical sense here on earth with us. So you need to cherish every opportunity you get to spend time with those that you love. And this is another opportunity to do that. So take full advantage of it. Don't take it for granted. Take advantage of it and spend it with those that you care about the most. And I always talk about the 5 F's, right? Food, family, friends, football, faith. You put them in whatever order you so choose and desire, right? Maybe there's only 4. Maybe one of those doesn't belong for you. Doesn't matter. Enjoy them all, right? Take advantage, spend that time. And last but not least, I'm thankful for each and every single one of you who power the Louie T Network and make it what it is. I wouldn't exist in this space as an entity on the Louie T Network. This platform does not exist without you. So I am thankful for each and every single one of you. And happy Thanksgiving once again to you and yours. If you're a Commanders fan, you'll see me a little bit later on this evening. We've got a lot to discuss. So I'll see you for Commanders Nightly News Live. But if you're not a Commanders fan and I'm not going to see you later, happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the rest of your week. Bask in the opportunity to spend it with those you love. And I'll see you guys on the other side of the holiday weekend. Until next time, I am your man, Louie T, signing off. Take care. God bless. And as always, good night. Happy Thanksgiving.